One of the things I want to highlight, because when we have the walkthrough videos, people can see, but the other senses not necessarily work. But when you talk about people getting in and immediately saying, okay, I wanna lease the property, there are additional things that you're making sure that are happening, and I think important for the investors, for the buyers to be aware. For the example is that we turn on the AC. Sometimes buyers would be surprised on ongoing cost. Hey, why do I have utility bills on my property when it's vacant? And we are, for example, keeping here the AC open. Can you explain why are we doing that?
Sure. If a property sits for a month, that's a month of income. That's a month of some utility bills, electric, gas, water. We need all that for our renovations. They have to be on. So when a leasing agent walks somebody in here and they start sweating, it's 76 degrees now. In here, we keep it at a 70. We want them to be able to walk in and all of a sudden they're comfortable. And they can start to see themselves living here. If you think about buying a car, once you sit in it, you can feel, yeah, this is something I would love to have, or this is not comfortable. We want the comfortability. Again, if having this thing set on 70 or having it off, and this is October, it's not usually that warm here. So usually it would be off. You'd be no furnace, no AC for a couple of months. But the key is if we get, and usually the first few people who see the property are going to be the best ones, and we can get them placed because they're qualified. But if we get them within a week because it was comfortable when they walked in, instead of showing and a month or half down, month or two down the road, we've lost income. So
exactly.
A couple pennies to save dollars makes sense to us.
One more thing that maybe we want to highlight about things we are making sure when we visit the properties throughout this period until it's going to be leased are the mechanicals or maybe even water that we are making sure to be opened, etc. Can you explain the importance, what needs to be done and why are we doing this?
Okay, there's a couple of scenarios. One, this was an owner-occupied home. So we know that the toilets have been flushed, the faucets have been turned on, the dishwashers have been used. We know that the mechanics like that, the electricity has been going. We know like that there's a very good chance everything's going to be in good shape. Not always, but that's why when I look at a home, the home inspector looks at a home, they do this. They turn it on. As we're walking around, I let it run. Not only do I know that it's working, I'll test the heat, but I get to see the drains. I get to see if the drains are clogged and we have to do something, or we have to snake it, or whatnot. So again, the home inspector does this as well, and he'll let it run so the hot water tank's on, I can feel the heat. And then we'll know if we have to address it or not. Now, a home that might have been sitting for a month or two before we bought it, this becomes even more important because the water drain lines have not been flowing. So you could have possible sediments in there, and that causes clogging. So that's, a lot of times we'll keep our eyes open to drains, especially if they need to be snaked, how far they need to be snaked, do they need to go out to the street. We also are cognizant of what's going on as far as the city doing repairs in the streets outside of the home, because it's something transparent to you, and hopefully you never hear about it, but we have to know what's going on so we know if there's causation from something other than the property itself. I hope that makes sense. So this will run, I will go to the toilets and I'll flush it a couple times. If I go into a home and the air conditioner is not on, and we're buying it with an air conditioning unit, I'll turn it on. I want to know if it triggers. I want to know if it gets cool. I'll turn it off before I leave, but I want to know if we have to talk about the age and the quality of the air conditioning. Is it fine? Do we have to look 10 years down the road of replacing it? That's the CapEx items that Nir talks about with you.
Great. Anything else we want to highlight regarding quality control when we finish the renovation and we are ending the product to leasing?
Yeah, this sounds crazy, but having light bulbs, how many places you walk in with a tenant, potential tenant, and you start hitting lights and the lights don't go on. Next thing you know, the potential tenant starts thinking, Okay, what else might or not be working? The home inspectors that you have to choose from, also up and down on windows. I just did a property where two of the windows, it didn't get discovered. I discovered it. When you unlock the windows, the top window dropped down. So we want to know that before a tenant makes a complaint. Because, again, I keep bringing this up, and I know Nir does, in this economic environment that we live in, getting supplies are harder and harder. Ships are staying out at sea, they're not coming in. I'm buying windows, I can't get them installed until December. And that's not the world we lived in just 2 years ago. So that takes some logistics also. A, we want to get a tenant in, right? B, we tell the tenant up front, these two windows need to be replaced, not here. I'm just making an example. And so the tenant is not anxious, or his expectation is something that's going to happen tomorrow. They know December 10th, their windows will be installed.
And also being proactive about it
Yes.
alleviates the concern of a tenant. Hey,
Yep.
I found out myself about this thing. What might else be wrong with the property?
Yeah, and one of the biggest challenges we have is leasing a property to somebody who is transferring from another state, for example,
Yep.
who doesn't doesn't get to kick the tires. Now, sometimes they'll send a friend over, they'll look for them. Sometimes we'll send a video to them, but we get them qualified, and you have a little additional risk that maybe they walk in and it's not what they wanted. But generally speaking, we do a pretty good job at, and we just had one. Came from Texas, never saw it. They did a video, we walked through it on a Saturday. He came here, loved it, nothing. Everything was seamless. So, but these are also the kind of tenants you want to have usually, because they're good earners. The companies are transferring them, and they just tend to be a better quality of tenant.
Yeah.